Alright, real quick before we get started on today's video, I have something I need to talk about that is pertinent to today's video. No, it's not an ad. Please stick around. Give me 60 seconds here. I'll explain what you're about to watch so it makes more sense and you guys will know what we need from you. Today's video marks a milestone for our channel, the next chapter of expansion and growth, if you will. I've taken a leap of faith as a content creator and handed my content to be created by someone else. Now, this does not mean all of our videos, this is a one-off thing here. We're gonna test it today, and if it works out, it's something we can do to provide you guys more content so we can make more than one video at once, have different types of videos in different regions, and just have a broader reach for content creation for the channel. With that being said, I would like to introduce a new host for the Junkyard Digs YouTube channel. He's someone you guys have known for a while now, and someone that I trust will do a great job with creating revival videos. Ladies and gentlemen, Angus Wacker. Upon graduating college together, I stayed in the Ames area and pursued my YouTube career. Angus, however, pursued his degree, smart man, and moved to the Twin Cities in Minnesota. Ever since then, I've been trying to hire him on to be a host for the channel here at the shop, but I know just as well as he does that he needs to have at least that 1 year of work on the resume, or that degree is not really going to hold very much value if push comes to shove and we need to go back to our degrees. But there's some good news here. Angus has been at his job for a while now, and that initial rush of starting a new job has begun to slow, and he has some free time. And with that free time, he decided to spend it in the worst way possible on a 65 Dodge D200. He got a hold of me and said, hey, I found a truck on Marketplace, it'd make a good revival. He said, I'll film it for you and send you all the files for you to edit and upload so you can work on stuff throughout the week and help relieve that one video a week rush. I said, absolutely, hit the big buy button on Amazon and sent him a direct copy of everything Mook and I used to film. So now we have myself, Mook, and Angus as a third host for the Junkyard Digs family. So without further ado, let's dive into this and see what Angus got himself into this time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Junkyard Digs. I am your host, not Kevin Brown. I'm Angus Wacker. You may remember me from a handful of other episodes I did with Kevin. Today we have this, and what this is a 1965 Dodge D200 3/4 ton long bed truck. Found this truck on Facebook Marketplace about a week ago. Messaged the guy, said, hey, is this still available? And despite all odds, he messaged me back. One thing led to another, and I now own this truck. I don't really have any plans for this truck. I don't need it. This just struck me as a really good deal, and I've always kind of liked Dodge swept lines. They're hideous, but also elegant and kind of fun to look at. So what we're gonna do in this video is just the usual. We're gonna get it to run, hopefully get it to drive. He's been kind enough to allow me to work on this truck in his backyard. My goal is to get it running and driving enough so that I can get it back to my apartment so that I can work on it further. Not necessarily make it fully roadworthy, but enough that it can navigate some back streets safely. As you may have noticed, I'm not necessarily in my usual Junkyard Dig revival attire, so give me just a second. No, this still just isn't quite right. Let's try again. Oh yeah, this is much more like it. It feels good to be back in uniform. A little itchy. Without any further messing around, let me take you on a quick tour of this unit, and then we're gonna start digging in. So, like I mentioned, what we have here is a 65 D200. It has a 225 inline 6 paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. And overall, it doesn't look too terrible. The rockers are predictably gone for being a Minnesota truck, but I've looked underneath it. The frame didn't look too terrible. The bed floor is fairly solid. Looks like I might need to put a couple zip ties on that tailgate there before I try and move, but I'm sure that'll be fine. And keeping with the theme of trucks that Angus buys, we have a Harley Davidson sticker. I don't own a Harley Davidson. Looking at it from the back, I've just got a few weird angles. There's some cars parked in this lot, as you can see, and I like to think that I'm contributing rather fairly. Got a couple of cool bumper stickers, like this one for Messenger two-way radio, Soride, Peterson, Medelia, Skynes, or something. It looks like and I don't think you can see it very well, but it looks like there's some newer brake lines on the rear axle here. Man, it's dark under here, but what we also have is my spare ride home. I guess that's enough laying down on the job for me. Let me pop back up and we'll go on the rest of the tour. What's the interior like? A little rusty, a lot of rusty. Oh my. But other than that, I'm sure it's fine. Let's see, how many miles are on this thing? It says it's reading 97, 188. I think that's accurate, judging by the rust. It doesn't take long up here in Minnesota to get to be that rusty. But for the most part, this interior isn't terrible. It smells terrible, but it's not the worst. I'm starting to think there was some sort of beacon or something up here, maybe a radio antenna. I don't know. Just looking around, I see they've got the key pulled out for whatever reason. There's a lot of wires dangling down. Noticed. The brakes. The brakes are no go. Let's see, does the clutch work? It kind of feels like it almost maybe works. Why does it feel like sticky? Let's see, of course, we've got our L switch for L's, our C switch for C's, our flasher switch for flashing. What is this? V for victory, maybe? We've got this removable knob for removing. Oh, geez. Yeah, no, the seat's pretty neat, though. Oh, a little uncomfortable, though, not gonna lie. What is this switch? Why is it wiggly? I'm just gonna hope I don't need that. Nothing interesting behind the seat? No. Okay, well. Carry on, I suppose. Minnesota. Let's see what we're really here to work with. Let's see if Angus can figure out this hood. Oh yeah. Oh no. I think something's been murdered. But anyway, this is our 225 inline 6 that I mentioned earlier. Looks like it's got a nice explodey ancient fuel filter. Oh my. That's gonna need to go away. These are supposed to be clear. Most of you know what they look like. This one's more brown than clear, and there's still a mosquito, and it's on my finger. Oh, and it is a hydraulic clutch. Oh, beans. Looks like somebody's already been working with the wiring system. This is a new ballast resistor. I think it's new. It might not be new. So anyway, the story I got on this truck was this was purchased as a father-son project for when the fella I bought it from turned 16. They drove it around the block once, 5 years ago, and then it just kind of sat ever since. Didn't really get very far with it. He said he tried to fire it up about a year ago, and it would start when he turned the key to start, but it wouldn't run with the key on the run position. So that's screaming to me in all the forums that it is the ballast resistor or something else in the ignition system is a little funky. So we're gonna have to dive in on that. Looking down the bedside there, I see a dent, so it's less than mint. I've been bamboozled, but I think we can manage. So anyway, I brought a battery, new ballast resistor, new fuel pump, handful of other parts, as well as any miscellaneous tools that I could fit in my toolboxes. So let me go snag some stuff and we'll get started. Alright, so I got a new battery. I'm gonna set this up in here, and you mentioned something about the wires being the wrong. Okay, so this is our negative wire. I can see it going straight to the motor mount, but the rest of the wire is red. And the positive battery cable is black. Ah, jeez. Okay, don't do that. This is negative, right? Yes. Wow, that's loose. New terminals. List. Okay, so nothing crazy happened. I think I see a little bit of weeping off of a frost plug, but I'm not going to worry about that just now. One more thing before we get started, I'm going to pull the air cleaner off. Nut. List. It looks like we have just a single barrel of questionable origin, also a questionable base plate of equally questionable origin. Oh look, our fuel filter's already leaking. Sweet. Looking at it just now, the fuel inlet fitting has a bunch of silicone beaded up around it that's all cracked and kind of fuel soaked. So how does this throttle work? How do you do, sir? Okay. I don't think I understand this accelerator pump. Doesn't appear to be doing much of anything. What do? Bonus wire. Bonus hose. Bonus tube. It's got a fuse on the electric choke and it's blown. So add that to the list of weird things. Let's see, do we have any cool juice? Yeah, it's almost full. Oh, it's a spider. He wasn't happy that he found me just now. I wasn't happy that I found him either. Rad hose, appears to be made of hose. You can't see it, but it looks like there is a new slave cylinder like the seller mentioned, so that's a good start. I'd like to have a clutch. It'd be nice. Where's the dipstick? Where? I'm the dipstick, that's where it is. Okay, looks awful. Smells like paint and is wet. Oh, it smells like gas. Like, not good gas. So here we are from what was my view just a second ago, and this is what I'm talking about. First of all, the silicone on this fitting, sketch. The fact that this carburetor looks way newer than it should, sketch. The fact that it's hardware bolted to a piece of plate steel that's welded to another piece of plate steel, which is hardware store bolted down to the intake. Well, no, those might be original, but that definitely is not. Questionable. Vacuum advanced hose. Why is it so long? But yeah, here's the ballast resistor I was talking about. It looks like there's a new clutch master cylinder too. I thought he said master for brakes, but it looks like I was mistaken. There's our new slave, nice and rusty. Looks about a year or 5 old. Well, I guess the only thing to do is do stuff. All right, now that we know we have oil, fuel exists, all that, I'm gonna see if this motor turns over. Please spin. I don't trust this belt as far as I can throw it. And looking at it, I could probably throw it really far. So let me just double check that it's not in gear. Okay. Oh, it is spinning. I'm just silly. Go ahead and wing it over a full rotation or so. Make sure there's no hard spots. I think I'm gonna be plagued with electrical issues on this unit, but we're gonna get her going one way or another. So, now that we know that the motor spins over freely and B, we're in neutral, I didn't say A. My next step is I'm just gonna hop in and turn the key and see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't catch on fire. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna grab our Sketch-O-Matic key 3000, key on. We've got an oil light. I hear a squeaking. Oh, it was the fan. It's kind of spinning. I think it's garbage. Let's go ahead and see if it just cranks. It surely does. What's up here? Nothing. 2-start engine. Cold engine or first start of day above 0. Cry. Just going to disconnect our fuel lines from here just so we're not filling our bowl up with what I assume is just absolute garbage. This way I'll also be able to see if our fuel pump is moving fuel. It smells like gas, like a lot. I'm sure that's fine. Pollution, yes, that's my answer. Now that we've got our fuel disconnected, I'm going to go ahead and pull our coil lead. Oh man, corrosion, check. It's blue inside. I'm gonna go find a screwdriver or something I can shove into this coil wire, set it somewhere that it can ground to the motor through an arc, and I can see if it's sparking or not. That'll tell us how far down the line we need to go. So I'm gonna go find something that fits all that description. So some of you may remember this truck. This is the one that we did a revival on back in February of 2021, whatever year this is. If you want to see the video on this truck, just find the link up here. Well, maybe it's over here. I don't know if I'm anywhere close. Help. Anyway, we wondered aloud what this bracket was for that's mounted to the side of the bed, and I think we found our answer because toolbox fits perfectly. This is a toolbox my dad gave me back in high school, and I was working on replacing the windshield one night, and I was looking at it. I bet that toolbox fits pretty good on there, so now it's just permanently affixed. Sure, maybe this will do it. Maybe this will do it. Heck, I don't know. Hopefully this should be enough to act like a spark plug. Okay, so that's hooked on there. I've just got to find a place where A, I can see it. That's not grounded. B, where it can find a ground to the motor. This coil wire really is not that long. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I don't think that's gonna work. Let's give it a shot anyway. Heck. So that's no way to find out. There's no good place. Okay, I have absolutely no idea if we have spark right now. I couldn't see the lead. I have nobody around to help me. I'm just gonna go straight for violence and spray some starting goo in the carb there, and hopefully it makes some noise, and then I'll know our ignition system's good. If it doesn't, then I'll know it's bad. Maybe. I don't know. Let's give it a shot. I got some violence inducer. Just gonna. All right, hoping for the best. Praying for the worst. It runs. I wasn't ready for any of that, and it looks like our fuel pump is now working. Of course it is. I think for starters, I'm going to take this cap and loosen it. God, words are just escaping me today. I worked a 9-hour day, and then I came here because I also have another job. I'm so special. I'm gonna try running it on old gas real quick. I've got 2 gallons. I'm gonna toss in the tank since apparently our fuel pump is working, but we won't run it for long, not long enough for anything to get hot. I'll tighten this clamp, and then we'll throw some starter juice at it, and we'll see if she just sits here and idles. Didn't like that. I don't know why, but this throttle linkage is all goofy. Oh, I think I see. I also think I see a major leak. Yeah. So the whole base plate of this carburetor is just gushing fuel. So that's not ideal. Shoot, the thing runs. The next thing I'm gonna work on is getting it to run good, which it most certainly does not do. Let's see if there's anything I can just like drop in to hold the choke open. Yeah. Okay. No accelerator pump. Yeah, it runs. She kind of purrs. I don't think the oil light turned off though. Not promising. Well, I guess that's enough. What do we even have in here? Oh, new fuel filter. I know it's new because it's in a new box. Put this in the bag with the horses. See? I'm sure that's fine. No, I think that's it for today. Okay, brakes, empty. Let's see what's behind door number 2. Some fluid. Nice. Ravioli, give me the goo. Fill that up real quick. We'll top out this other one just to say we did it. Yep, I already see it bubbling, so this thing's been dry for a little while. Gonna let those air bleed for a while, and then I'll throw the cap back on and see if any hint of a thing happens. If nothing else, just make sure the master has fluid on all the seals so that way they can get reseated. It looks like it's got a lot of new line under there. Yeah, let me throw the master cylinder cap back on. I'm gonna pump it a few times just to see if I can get any fluid or any pressure out of it. Feel any resistance in the pedal at least. That would give me a sign that it's not just going to oblivion. Alright, I didn't feel anything. I'm gonna climb underneath, see if I see anything. If so, then I know we'll have a leak. If not, that really doesn't tell me anything. We're seeing signs of a leak, which tells me that they probably just are dying to be bled. That's something I'll need to do when I have a helping hand with me, hopefully tomorrow or the next day or the next day or the next day. I'm stuck. Help. Alright, we're back. It's been 2 days. Yesterday was rainy, so I didn't film anything. All I did was oil change. I think I replaced a couple of electrical components and began installing tack, just so I know what RPM we're running. Today, since the weather's nice, I brought a friend along. We're going to go ahead and try and bleed the brakes, see how bad it is, if there's any leaks, and we'll go from there. So without further ado, I'm going to change and we're going to get rolling. So we just tried and failed to bleed the brakes. The front two bleeders both are stuck closed. I've rounded them off completely with a vice grip. That's probably sign enough that I should just replace the wheel cylinders. I was hoping to be able to avoid that, but down the road I knew I'd have to do it. For now, we're gonna move on from that since I can't get the parts. We're gonna try and dig into this carburetor. I've got a new repair kit. It might be for this carb, I really don't know. So we're just gonna pop this old carb off, see what's going on inside. From what I remember from a couple days ago, I think it was running rich, and or the needle and seat were sticking open and it was flooding because it didn't want any extra carb cleaner when I was running it, but it would also sputter out and die. There's something going on and we're gonna figure out what. Let's start with you. Yeet! Oh God, what? Well, color me confused because boy, I'm confused. What in the heck is going on here? This is giving me plenty of time to look at the hinge mechanism. And it's got a lot going on. They're splined together. There's two different springs doing two different things. And now I need to go get a socket. It's just Mopar. Oh my God. Oh my God. I forgot this is full of gas. Oh. So, what you've probably been hearing me talk about how this carb shouldn't be right and it doesn't make any sense and there's a lot of weird stuff going on. This was a 1-barrel carburetor. This is the gasket, right? Let's look down there. This is a 2-barrel intake. And the more you look at it, the worse it gets. So this is a piece of 3/8 plate steel with a hole drilled in it, arc welded to another piece of plate steel, which only appears to be about 1/4 inch thick. Not a big deal, but also different, so kind of weird. Bolted down where a 2-barrel carburetor would be. So I went ahead and ordered up a new 2-barrel that's on the way. I won't be here for a little while and I just kind of want to see if I can get this thing to run good enough on a carb kit just to prove that we can do it. But yeah, that's the one thing that's been really kind of blowing my mind, and that's caused this throttle linkage to be all out of whack. So it's supposed to be on it's supposed to be on this side of the carburetor entirely, but somebody's put a bend in it. I don't know, maybe this is a Mopar thing, but I talked to Dylan McCool, link to his channel up there, maybe over there. I messaged Dylan and I sent him a picture of this and he acted like he'd never seen anything like it before. He just responded and was like, what the heck is that thing? And where did you find it? So, kind of weird. I'm gonna throw the 2-barrel back on off of, the Chinesium site. To be clear, I'm not looking for performance because it's still a 225 inline. but I am looking for drivability, and just a 2-barrel going into a 2-barrel manifold, that's bound to give a little bit better velocity. We'll rebuild this for now. Hopefully it works, and maybe I can get it to sit here and idle on its own. So let me just snap my fingers and we'll be back, and it'll be on, and it'll be magical.
So from the way it sounds, this truck really gave Angus the runaround. It was a real trial by fire, or in his case, 50-degree cold wet rain. As with any carburetor rebuild we do on a fender, he ran into a few hiccups, but was able to sort them out. Unfortunately, at that point it was completely dark outside, which makes filming with our cameras pretty much impossible. However, Angus is never one to give up easy. He still got the carburetor reinstalled on the truck and gave her a few tries. Unfortunately, unlike himself, the fuel pump was one to give up easy and stopped delivering fuel to the carburetor. Cold, wet, and tired, they decided to call it a night and come back a few days later with a new game plan.
Alright, it's been 3 or 4 days since I've been here. Plenty of time for me to form a nice little grudge against this truck. Today I think I'm just gonna give her the beans. I brought myself an extra fuel tank, which I'm just gonna rig up with an electric pump. That way I know I have fuel to that carburetor. I also brought a new carburetor just in case that one turns out to be complete potato. Either way, before I leave here today, this thing's gonna run. And it's gonna run well enough that I know it's gonna make it all the way back to my apartment. After that, and probably by the time it gets dark, I'm going to start digging in on the front brakes. I've got some new wheel cylinders and some new hardware. Hopefully it should be a matter of just undoing a couple of springs and replacing the wheel cylinders on the front, just so I know that the bleeders will unscrew. I'm already starting late because I had to work late, so we're just going to dive right into this today. I'm going to try and bring you along for the ride, but it seems like it's going to be pretty standard stuff. Let's get started. We got our fuel system mostly plumbed. I don't have the fuel pump wired in hard. I've just been touching it off to fuses to prime the system when I need to. I found that the needle and seat that I put in on the rebuilt was sticking, and or the accelerator pump wasn't working, so I just said, you know what, heck with that. I've got a brand new carburetor. I'm just going to slap that on, so I did. Ran the lines to it, filter and everything. So I'm going to spray it with carb cleaner one more time, and we're going to see if we can get it to fire off and maybe stay running. I'm going to try. It's getting really frustrating. I don't think this battery has a whole lot more in it, and I didn't bring a jump pack because I don't have one. Anyway, here we go. Okay, terminals connected. Giving her the old go-go juice. Gonna go inside and give her the electrical juice. On fire? Anything trying to be on fire? No? And I'm pretty sure I still have a vacuum leak. I didn't put a new gasket between the carb and the manifold. I left a phenolic spacer that was under the adapter, which, oh geez, I should have that around here somewhere so I can show you a little better what we were dealing with under the old one. I've got a bunch of, there it is. Here is our adapter, and hopefully you can still see me. This is what the 1-barrel plate, I think, no, this was manifold side. This is what the 1-barrel was bolted to. And if you can still see with what little light we have, this was, I think, MIG welded. I know I said arc welded before, but I think it was MIG welded to this other piece of plate steel really consistently. I see at least 4 spots where it was probably sucking air through. I don't understand why they did this. Sorry if we're zoomed in on my face, but I'm just like, I'm trying to get some filming in. It's getting dark. And then like next week, I think daylight savings time is coming around. Just, it never ends. It's always something. Now that we've got the engine running, I'm gonna call that running. Needs a little more tuning before we can get it to move under its own power. I also need to adjust the throttle linkage because it's really tight and wide open throttle comes on really fast. But we're gonna leave that alone for now. I'm gonna switch over to focusing on the brakes. And judging by how there is no sun anymore, there's gonna be really bad footage, if any. But I'll walk you through my plan real quick. When I got here today, I noticed there was a puddle of brake fluid on the driver's side floorboard, which tells me one of the master cylinders, since it's hydraulic brakes, hydraulic clutch, one of them is leaking. Well, I know one of them's new, so obvious culprit, probably the one that's old. So I checked it out, and sure enough, the boot on the backside has a bunch of oil on the brake master cylinder, which means the seals inside the master cylinder have torn or blown or something. They're not holding fluid, so that would have been a bad master cylinder to drive on. The next thing I'm going to do after bleeding the master cylinder is I'm going to install it. That's fairly straightforward. Every vehicle is going to be a little bit different. We'll hook that master cylinder back up, cinch down all my lines and move on. I'm going to jack that FF down, which is probably I've used it a couple times. By that time, I'll be frozen and so, yeah, did you get all that? Alright, here we are back for day, who knows. So last night, I finished installing the new master cylinder. I installed the driver's side wheel cylinder, and then it got to be 9 o'clock and I was ready for bed. So I'm back here today. I'm going to finish up on the passenger side. Hopefully I can get all the lines connected right, tight, and ready to go, and I'll start bleeding the brakes. I'm hoping but skeptical that I'll have a functional-ish brake system by the end of tonight. It is scheduled to rain today. So far it's only sprinkled, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. Just real simple stuff, I suppose. Not even have enough room next to here. This side's really stuck on there. Might be in trouble. Alright, so you may have just seen me struggling with my lug wrench to try and get these lug nuts off. Following that, my brain went, well, why are you even taking the tire off? Well, I gotta get to the brakes. Why don't you just take the dust cap off, take the outer bearing off, and then wiggle the whole thing off like that? And the tire and wheel being on the brake drum doesn't really matter. It just makes it a bigger assembly. So that's what we're gonna give a shot. Don't see why it wouldn't work. And it will actually save me some time and steps, probably. Let's get to it. Okay, things are making a little more sense. When I undid the passenger side yesterday, it was A, easier to get the wheel off. B, the cotter pin that holds the castle nut to the spindle was broken off at the bottom and just like kind of bent a little bit. This one has full extension and it's wrapped over the front of the spindle. Makes me think somebody's been in that drum already. And all the hardware in there looked new. The shoes look new, so kind of makes me think somebody went to the trouble of going through that side, but I don't think I'm going to find anything fancy in this side. Ooh. So, I may have mentioned this is a straight axle truck, meaning it's got a straight axle, which also means it has kingpins. And so what I'm hearing right now is not so much bearing movement, it's the kingpins they don't sound happy. And this bearing didn't come out super easy. And there's this white, looks like high temp grease. Might not be. Might just be water. We use something like this at the factory I work at. So I'm gonna go ahead and pretend it's grease. I'd like to throw some new bearings in it down the road. And hopefully that'll be a part of part 2 of this very episode. But it might not be if I can't get this freaking wheel off. Get it! Well, cars are cheaper than drugs, but right now I don't know which I'd rather be doing. Maybe they're not cheaper than drugs. I don't know much about drugs. If you know about drugs, I'm pretty sure that's not legal. Don't steal my stuff. There it is. So what have we learned here? We've learned that Angus can't stand up, but also we've learned that violence is sometimes the answer. in the theme of has been redone, which is just something that I came up with just now. These shoes look pretty good. The hardware is all there, but it doesn't look new like the other side did. So I'm gonna grab my handy dandy undoey tools, throw a new wheel cylinder in here, throw a new rubber line on here, and reconnect the whole thing, throw the wheel back on, bippity boppity boop. Then I'll be ready to start addressing the bleeding process, and it's just that easy. Okay, we're back again with the terrible lighting. Yeah, started bleeding the brakes, and once I got my little pumpy doodad up to about, I don't know, 7 psi, I started hearing some serious gurgling noises, and there sure enough is a hard line blown along the frame line going towards the rear. It is right next to a frame cross member, and it went between 2 braces, and it's all full of sand. So what looked like relatively new line just absolutely disintegrated in the middle. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run back to the parts store and grab a plug for the rear lines. Now, I absolutely do not recommend doing this. However, since I just want to get it gone and I don't want to open the can of worms that is the rear brakes, I'm just gonna run and get a plug. Yeah, kind of a bummer. I was hoping that would be magically just fine, but tisn't. So I'm going to make a run to the parts store, get the zippity doo-dah, come back, be confused. It's gonna get cold. I wonder if they're even open. Okay, it's been a couple of days. I went through, got the front brakes working on our 1965 D200. I found our tail lights started working, our headlights work, our turn signals didn't check. As far as I'm concerned, she's ready to go home now. The owner was kind enough to clear out the driveway a little bit so we can maneuver it out, and I think it's so long as it starts up, we're ready to go. So we'll get set up and see what happens. Well, that figures. I left the key and accessory while I was changing something. Now the battery's dead. Great. Nice man jumping for me. Well, here it is. Drove itself out of the grave it's been in for the last 5 years. Interesting new perspectives now that it's more or less on a road. I didn't want to stop and adjust the camera to get the rest of the driveway just because I didn't know if it'd start back up, but here we're kind of on a downhill slope-ish, so hopefully that'll be enough to get us started up again. So I'm going to put you in the cab with me. That way we can all experience this fresh calamity together. You might have noticed on video, and you might be noticing now that you can't see my face on the silhouette. It's sundown. It's literally sundown. It was idling really high on the way out of the driveway, and pardon all the noise, I'm moving stuff around in this cab, trying to make it so it doesn't drop through the floor. Yeah, I'm gonna drop the idle down just like half a turn, because I had it turned way up just so it would warm. Then after that, we're gonna just hit the road and see where we get. Okay, that's probably set. I don't actually know how well this works. pretty okay. Let's see, how are the brakes? Rusty. I can feel that they are indeed rusty. So far, so good. Alright, we're going for a corner. Oh yeah! Alright, that's fourth gear we're doing. Hey, the speedometer works. 25. So I'm starting to think this isn't the 355 gears I was really hoping for. Another interesting thing I'm noticing is the clutch is all at the very top of the adjustment, which means either the rod is out too far or the clutch is super worn. So I'm just gonna keep using first just till I get more comfortable with this truck. Still got a pretty significant vacuum leak at the base of our carb, mostly based on how it kind of starves for fuel there for a little while, and then it'll surge, and it does some weird stuff at different RPM, and it's pretty consistent, so I'm gonna have to throw a new set of gaskets under that, which I needed to do anyway, so it's not gonna hurt my feelings. Please don't pull out. Don't do it. Okay, fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. She's not smoking too bad, which is kind of nice. The oil light kind of flickers on and off, but if you'll remember earlier in the video, if it made the cut, it was on while I was running it. While I was underneath it and I found the oil pressure sensor and I wiggled the wire, and all of a sudden the oil light stopped coming on. So I hope that that's the issue. Other than that, so far it's purring like a kitten. Ambulance coming through. They must have known I was coming. It's not gentle. The clutch adjustment is really throwing me off. Feels like our semi. Ow. In case you didn't know, or I didn't tell you already, I'm in Minneapolis now, so I'm driving through residential streets, which is nice for this truck because it's not fast, but it's also stressful because I'm not super familiar with the brakes. I'm not familiar with the clutch. I really don't know much of anything about this truck. All I know is that we are 5 blocks away from the car I rode in on. Second gear start just there. I don't know if you noticed. Didn't even think about it. It was just pulled like a diesel. So this, I'm starting to think, has the 488s or 456 or whatever the brochure was telling me it had. I'll have to double check that because that'll really limit the uses that this truck can be had. Depending on the gears, it'll depend whether or not this is going to be like a highway driving truck, a 2-lane highway truck, or just an in-town lumber getter. Fun fact I may not have mentioned, but you may have seen, I have a snowblower in the back. I also bought that. Another thing I wish I could show you right now is the passenger side mirror. She's got a waving in the breeze. Making my way downtown, driving slow. Everything's clenched because I'm really scared. We're gonna sneak right on by this guy here. This thing is absolutely gutless. Oh boy. It wasn't a lot of throttle, but it wasn't a little either. A lot of noise for not a lot of return. Oh look, a cop. Everybody act normally while I run this red light. Don't turn around. You don't want to know what's going on in here. Still idle's kind of high, but that's fine. I'm cool with that. I'm going so slow that a speed radar didn't even pick me up. Oh, oil lights on. Sounds fine. Okay, starting to think that brake works really well. This brake, not so many. Much many. But we're on a downhill, and I'm freaked out because there's a red light at the bottom. Wee-haw! I hear so many noises and it freaks me out. Oh yeah! 30. Oil light's still on, but it's flickering, which, if it's working, that means we have some pressure. Okay. How do I tell these people that I'm turning without using these signals that I'm fairly confident don't work? Slow down, slow down. Brakes seem to be there. Third gear. Just like that. Okay. So I just hit a bump. The oil light turned off. And then I hit another bump, and the oil light turned back on, so I'm not worried about it anymore. Or at least that's what I'm telling myself. Is that a cop? Is that a barrier? It is a barrier. Oh my god, this thing is so... What are you doing? Oh, don't do that. Oh, you're so brave but so dumb. Pedestrians, they're scary. They don't even know what's going on. They're just like, I'm sure they'll stop. Maybe. I'll sure try. All joking aside though, I am confident in the front brakes to stop me at this low speed. I've been giving myself plenty of room to slow down, and now it's pulling from the other way. What the hell? Gotta be honest with you, people on the streets are not looking at me the same way they look at me in the F100. In the F100, they look at me with awe and amazement. They're like, "Wow, ouch, what a nice vehicle," ish. At least that's what I think they're thinking. And in this, they are forcefully, aggressively looking away from me. The man on the phone, oh, he's looking at me distastefully. Oh no, your opinions. We're almost there, oil light. Just shut up. I don't want to know. Temperature is warm. Is it hot? No. Is it warm? Yeah. Oh, that guy, he is not having it either. Oh, nobody likes it. Oh no. Oh, we're home. I think that'll just about do it for this episode. I'm going to hand you all back off to Kevin so he can run the outro. In fact, he's messaging me right now. Don't you hate it when your boss messages you off company time? Oh, all right. Well, we made it all the way back, and it's in the garage. I shouldn't be surprised, seeing as we did all the work and we checked all the boxes, but it's always really exciting to see something that you put a lot of time and work and money into, doing what it's supposed to do and doing exactly what you wanted and doing it all the way. It's such a good feeling. So, all in all, I'm really happy with this truck. Let us know in the comments if you like this format of video. And by format, I mean Angus doing revivals off on his own in the real world. What a horrifying thought now that I say it out loud. I would like to continue working on this truck and possibly get it into the hands of a new owner. But for now, I think that'll do it for me.
Are you done?
Are you? Angus, we got 4 words for you. You heckin' nailed it. It takes balls for someone to pick up a camera, stand on someone else's property with people walking around all day, and then work on a vehicle, simultaneously hosting a show, talking to 700,000 imaginary people in your hand. And this dude nailed it. I had an absolute blast editing that episode because it wasn't a video of myself, and we got that Jeep done throughout the week, which we would have never been able to touch otherwise. So Angus, we owe you a huge thank you for that. For you guys watching the video, if you enjoyed this, leave some constructive criticism, compliments, whatever you want down in the comments. This is the first time that this guy's picked up a camera and hosted a show all on his own with no help. And the only help that did come came a little late on the outro when I finally remembered, oh shit, hey, there's that ISO setting we never touched. That was my bad. If you guys enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing, leave a like, leave a comment, and let us know if this is something you'd like to see more of in the future until hopefully someday Angus can be local once again. With that, Mook, I say we hand it off to him to do the final words. Take her away.
Hopefully we'll see you here on another episode of Junkyard Digs. Peace.